Here we go again. We are back after a hectic holiday season. You know, generally it's times like those where things get the most chaotic. I mean, for most people, but definitely for me. So I'm glad to get back to more of a typical schedule. You know, something we can find ritual in the daily. I guess holiday times kind of remind you that there are more than just daily rituals happening, and we have to be aware of multiple cycles at once. You know, keeping track of the cycles of the day and night, sure, and then we also have lunar cycles like once a month, and solar cycles once a year. I think these are the things that are, I think, gonna cause a rift if we don't attend to them specifically. And I guess creating structure for your life and thinking about your life in terms of structure is something that's been thought of by metaphysicians for a very long time. And when you find yourself within a metaphysical framework, you're able to attach that to the world of ideas, to the world of aspirations and goals, as a sort of scaffold. That's the way I like to put it. As if, like, to reach the highest pinnacle, but ideally there's a metaphysical scaffold which you can construct yourself, or you can find one which deeply resonates with you. But this is just it. I feel as though there are many divinely inspired routes to the highest, but not many that will work for everyone. And I think that most people would treat their one path to reach their highest potential as their destiny. So if we take a look at different metaphysical systems, I'll take like science and psychology. There is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You have these lower things like hunger, thirst. You can find similarities in like Eastern systems, like the chakras. The Kundalini serpent, which starts at the base of the spine, but like as the energy becomes more complex, there's like a rise through. You have like these social energies, the heart energies, like the vocal expression energies. And I think we can see the same thing expressed by things like the Sephiroth in Western occultism, like the Tree of Life. I think that like the various stages through which one progresses, from Malkuth to Kether, from Kether to Malkuth, to quote David Bowie lyric, it's very representative of the other systems. And you can take a look somewhat of like how these systems reflect each other, how they're trying to touch on the same thing. It's slippery out, so make sure that you're aware and to do a fucking screen check from time to time, so you don't end up eating shit. Remember where you are. Remember the little tiny screen in the room. Remember if there's a camera on you, if there are microphones on you, like at all times. And just try to put it out of your mind. I mean, these videos are an attempt at like giving back some energy. Like, I find it like they're in every task that you choose. There is either a give or a take, and I can only hope that you come away from these videos not feeling like, oh fuck, that was a lot to listen to, like I'm exhausted, but you just, like these are just the thoughts of someone, who's saturated himself for the last decade in as much literature, like as much experience, as much like radical this life as possible. I tried to reach the limits of the human experience just to understand life more, to get more out of it. I can only hope that when you listen to these videos, I can help other people understand I think that the human is capable of great things. You know, we say we are only human. I think that's an understatement. I think that to say that one is only human is to excuse oneself of what they're truly capable of. And I think that people are capable of, you know, a lot more than they may think. This is where things like ESP, extrasensory perception, come in. Like, I think in a lot of ways, when you immediately disbelieve something, or when something seems like too out of this world to be absurd, like, you lose your ability to attune to it. As strange as that sounds, I find poetry in the metaphysical system of choice, you know, of a person. Like, once somebody decides to truly make use of a metaphysical system, and they make sense of it, and it fits in the mold of their destiny, of their path, then, you know, they are able to use it. But I think that if you disbelieve something, like, you are willingly giving up the capacity of possibility. It's not to say that anything is possible, but I mean, many people do discount miracles despite having believed in the one Big Bang. Terence McKenna said, you know, give them one and it'll account for all the others. So I find that most people's worldview is, you know, it's just very prideful. And even myself, I'm trying to take a step back, have some humility, open myself up to greater possibilities than I thought when I was, you know, much angrier person. It's interesting too that we can see emotions reflected in the metaphysical system. Like, of the West, I think there was like power, wisdom, strength, beauty. In the Sephiroth, I'm not super well versed in the Sephiroth yet. I decided to put that all down for a little while so I could get a little bit better grip on the fundamentals. In occultism and general esoterica involve a ridiculous amount of study if you're not just creating like the most natural, you know, which they would call chaos magic, which it does require quite a bit of stuff. I find that if you are to create your own system, though, in like the style of like Peter Carroll, for example, who's one of the great chaos magician writers, you often just are recreating something else that has already been created. So although like the natural route of humanity, you know, the natural drive towards religion, like they say that the word is written on the hearts of every man, woman, and child. So like, to follow a natural path is almost to just rewrite something that may have already been written. I don't think that's to discount your own personal journey, your own personal path, but I think that this hyper-focused individualism and dismissal of ancient knowledge for, you know, modern day science, which is not actual science, but a lot of times just financial control over institutions, and, you know, people wanting to maintain their identities and their status. I think that I lost my train of thought. But I think that we should not discount the ancient myth, and that's not to discount science either. But I think that we have to be very careful who we listen to. We have to be very careful what our sources are, and we have to understand, like, if we are, especially if we're receiving our information via algorithm, which is, you know, it's pretty much the concept of a feed. We need to be extra critical. Like, we should always keep in mind, what does the algorithm want from me? Certainly it's not just showing me things, you know, that it thinks I like. It is doing that, but it's also doing something else. I think there are multiple functions, so it's interesting that it's called a feed. You know, immediately the word trough comes to mind. Yeah, as if it's like horse feed, like mass feed, just people with their information. I hear that the drive that we use to find information is the same drive that we use to find food or forage for food. Like, we'd find a food source in nature, and you know, as long as it's plentiful, we often stay there. Like, there's not much reason to go find all new food sources all the time. So usually when one person finds a good spot for information, like they'll just stay there. They won't bother trying to find somewhere new. I guess we'll go to like 15 or 20. I haven't done a video in a little while, so I'm kind of happy to do this. Like, you know, I still go out in the forests all the time. But like I said, the holidays get just crazy, so I think it's important to, you know, find some solitude during pretty much all crazy times. I was trying to do. A lot of people take breaks from social media. Like, I think that's great. Take breaks from screens or try to limit screen time. Like, become more regimented and things like that. I think those are good ideas, you know, just for if you do feel like a sense of renewal with the new year, like a lot of people do. I think that's something good to keep in mind. Just these devices somewhat do run our lives. I mean, not to be hypocritical because I am holding one right now in order to film this, but this is like really the only way of giving back that I can think of, which is this immediate.